Hello class, I'm Stephen Parker and this is my presentation on Forum 4, Great Decisions, Media and Foreign Policy. So the book just kind of opens up by stating basically what media is, how it's used, some of the ways that civilians use media, basically just how it's not just limited to either social media or news media outlets or anything of that nature. It also kind of opens up too by stating, some of the benefits of media and some of the disadvantages of media in regards to false news being spread out, and then the benefit that it plays towards the citizens of actually keeping them informed with what's going on in the United States and around the world today. So the book then goes on to just kind of explain how 9/11 really affected the media, basically stating about how we're seeing things happen in real time. So, for example, 9/11, it's pretty clear, like everyone has a picture now of the buildings crashing into the planes crashing into the buildings, mainly just because there's so many news media outlets on site, and then it was something that, a lot of people were basically horrified watching at home. But also, the book does talk about how this was technically a tactic that was used during the 9/11 attacks. For example, the timing of the planes flying into each building, it was basically set up so news media outlets would at least be able to capture that the second crash. So moving on, it kind of goes into talking about social media and foreign policy and the role that foreign policy kind of plays. So the Global Internet Forum on to Countering Terrorism. This was basically something that was set up with Facebook, YouTube, Microsoft, Google, and Snap, and basically what they're trying to prevent is terrorism being spread throughout their platforms of social media and basically reaching the general public. So social media and mass communication is kind of a great way for a lot of people to interact with each other. And unfortunately, terrorists were seeing this as an advantage and kind of a way to recruit people from other countries and kind of bring them in and make their group even bigger, just as one would do with their own following on these social media outlets. And then it also talks about the Russian propaganda that was apparently spread through things like Twitter by setting up bots, or Facebook by setting up these fake accounts and then basically just spreading all of the um, whatever propaganda regarding Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton that apparently had an effect on the national election. So, media and the First Amendment. Basically, media is a form of free speech, so a lot of people would argue that it is defended under the First Amendment. Um, it's kind of one of the long-standing amendments that a lot of people hold true. It's one of the things that makes the United States such a free country, and kind of gives people the allowance to spread whatever news they want, gives our media the basically unchallenged stories that they can send out, contrary to, um, Russian media outlets where they're so limited in what they can actually spread and what they can actually tell stories about, because it's kind of regulated more so by the government, whereas ours, a lot of it is government coverage, but there's very, very few restrictions on what they can actually put out. The use of social media in government through message spreading and monitoring. This has kind of come out a lot, especially with the Donald Trump campaign, basically just the way that he kind of communicates through his followers, and also the way that he communicated through his followers throughout the election process, and basically spreading his ideas of policies and things of that nature. And then it kind of goes on to just talk about how Obama and Trump both kind of challenged the media in a way. So one thing that I thought the book interestingly pointed out in regards to Obama's intimidation and control of the press is President Obama's administration tried to intimidate and control the press. It used intrusive measures against reporters, spying on journalists by monitoring their phone records and issuing subpoenas to reporters to try to force them to reveal their sources. Whereas Donald Trump, his mainly just kind of been an outright disapproval of the media, stating they are reporting fake news or that they are giving him kind of an unfair slay in regards to how the media is portraying him and things of that nature. So, foreign policy into the internet age. A lot of people it's kind of been noticed in the United States that they more so just have this desire to go viral, and the book kind of points that out too. Um, Basically, a lot of people are really obsessed with this idea of getting followers and getting likes and things of that nature. And honestly, the world leaders can't really say are that much different. A lot of them like the following that they have. A lot of people want high approval ratings, so why not use social media to kind of show them that they're citizens just like us or whatever. Twitter in foreign countries, it's kind of become a lot more popular. Another thing that I thought interesting that the book pointed out was 178 countries have Twitter accounts belonging to their heads of the state and government and foreign ministers. However, there are some that are still kind of more cautious to use it. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's gaining popularity, but there's still some people that are kind of skeptical about the idea of using social media. In regards to Trump and his use, the book pointed out in part because his goal is less to forge the relationships than to attract attention for himself. In April 2017 interview, President Trump pointed out that not only did he owe his election to social media, but that in fact social media gave him an unparalleled platform for his policies both at home and abroad. So going on to the last section, which is just basically questions for the future. Kind of just goes back to the idea of it being still part of the First Amendment and garnered under that. I highlighted a quote by Thomas Jefferson that I thought was interesting that also the book cited. Basically, the quote goes, "Our liberty depends on the freedom of the press," Thomas Jefferson, "and that cannot be limited without being lost." The founding fathers so strongly believed in the principles of free speech and free press that they codified those rights in the U.S. Constitution. So basically, what I got out of that is the book's kind of going off of that free speech and social media and media outlets and news media and entertainment media, nothing should really be limited, mainly just because once you limit those, you're basically working towards giving up the right all in all. And then the second quote I brought up was from John F. Kennedy. President John F. Kennedy gave an address to the American Newspaper Publishers Association. He articulated concerns that remain resonant across the years. Kennedy called for the press to give greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. So basically, what that kind of said to me was just that the use of news media is kind of branched out beyond what goes on in our inner circle. It now goes on that we can learn what's going on in other countries, and we kind of become more involved in that way. So just kind of my thoughts on this forum. The use of the media and where it's at today, I kind of feel like social media a lot is wasted. In all honesty, I am kind of in favor of Donald Trump just, I guess, limiting what he says on Twitter, but I do appreciate, getting the little updates, and I think it's the only way that he really sees for himself to kind of get his side of the story out. Media being on the scene, you see it now. You see things happen live. You see the car chases. You see, news happening right in front of you. So I think the press does a good job of that, and that's definitely something that's advanced over the years. Other than 9/11, though, I can't really say I've seen the coverage of media being used as a terrorist tactic. Media and foreign policy. I don't know. I mean, I guess it'd be helpful just because it kind of gives people in the United States their option to go ahead and follow other world leaders and see what's going on with them or see what they're pushing for, supporting. And then also, it's kind of a good way for us to communicate without directly communicating with other countries' world leaders. The media and the president, as I said, I don't condone it. I don't disapprove of it or whatever. There's just some stuff I think he says that can get him in a little bit of trouble. And then just kind of the reflection of John F. Kennedy, like I said, I feel like it's a good way for us to connect with other countries around the world without actually being directly connected to them. Just kind of learn again what their proposals are. So that's my presentation. Here's my sources, my references. Just Forum 4. Thank you for watching, guys, and have a great night.